Power to the truth. This is Margo. This is Friday, February 1st, 2019. 3:57 p.m. Pacific Time, United States of America. And we have one new day's worth of data of methane from CAMS. They have, remember the last time we had new data was on Sunday the 27th. Well, now it's one day's worth of data, Monday the 28th is what is up here. So I thought I'd go ahead and share this with everyone so we could see what's going on with this. And I already have this movie loaded, so we've got our color scale down here. So here, here's Monday for all of Monday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are into the forecast period. So they're, they go through these cycles, CAMS does, of getting caught up, and then they might get a few days behind on posting the methane and carbon dioxide. Both of those, for whatever reason, they don't post every single day, but all the other greenhouse gases and things, they are totally current every single day. So we just have to keep checking back all the time to see what's been released and when. I have the Arctic view pulled up so that we can get a better picture of this Arctic, what's going on. So we're seeing that where it had been with the release coming across the Arctic, it did come across, and now in the forecast period it's forecasting another release, big one coming up off the in the Kara Sea. Okay, I'm going to go back to the beginning of this here. So here's where we were at, where we ended with at the end of Sunday with methane. This orangey release was coming across and through the sea ice, and so that's about 2040 and into the goldy color was to 2060 parts per billion moving across the Arctic and releasing. Then when it gets into the red, that's 2100 parts per billion, and this darker red is 2140 parts per billion, and then the dark brown, it can be anywhere between 2160 and 10,000 parts per billion. We just don't know where in that range it might be, so we have to go to other sources like NOAA to get the actual data, the actual reading. But it's high, whatever it is, it's high. So I like CAMS because you can see the pictures, and a picture speaks 1,000 words. So let's so here it had ended, like I said, on Sunday, and now we're going to see this continue to move across to Greenland and then curl around, and then a new release coming up, a big one here in the Kara Sea, and we'll continue to see this release out of Russia. So we got to reload the movie since I refreshed it. So I'll just let this run for you to see. And we've got this release coming up out of Europe. And look over here. I mean, huge releases. I'll also show you California in a minute. We'll look at some different views. But remember, it is still dark at the North Pole. It's cold, but like you saw in my report yesterday, there's a warm area going right down the center of the Arctic. And the polar vortex split and came down Canada and North America, and then the other side went over into Siberia. So, and we can see less methane coming up where it's so super cold. So that's probably why. So I'll be checking this methane every single day, and as soon as we have new data, I will present it in my daily reports. But we can see in the forecast period from Wednesday where the methane had spread across all the way to the northern coast of Greenland and into these Canadian islands, and then a new release coming up out of the Chukchi Sea. So also, here's another view. This is from the North Pole view, so we can see the whole northern hemisphere here. I've loaded this movie up, and so we can see China, and Robin has been doing articles, posting articles about China's methane emissions, and the coal mining and this and that, and how they're so much higher, and so check out his blog. I shared that with everyone yesterday. And but it's true, and we can see that we've been seeing this ever since we started looking at methane. We've been seeing, no matter where we are in the world, no matter whether it's day or night, China is black with methane. And the pictures don't lie. This is from actual data. And also India. A lot of India, most of India, especially the northern part, and a lot of Europe, most of Europe, and especially in the summertime. And then and looking at the United States and North America, just the land mass is so much less than what you have on the eastern side of the world. So I'm sure if we had more land mass, we would be releasing a lot more methane too. But we're not as densely populated as China and India, and we don't have as many people. So these are just facts. I'm just stating facts. So there's that. Now I'm gonna change this to North America, and we'll look at California, because remember we'd seen that sulfur dioxide releasing off this going down the west side of California, and methane, and so this is from Monday after the big release on Saturday and Sunday. So it's still a lot, but it does settle down into the forecast period. So remember, this was from Monday, and then here's going into Tuesday and Wednesday. So when we actually get the data in, we'll see more. And see, they're forecasting less methane release over here on the eastern side of the United States. I'm sure because of that polar vortex that's swooping down. and it's so cold, nothing's coming up. It's awful. It's awful over there. So there's that, and that's what I wanted to share with everyone today on methane. Now I want to show you, I want to share a movie from Facebook. If you want to see what methane looks like, this is what methane, frozen methane coming up out of a lake looks like. This is a post that I found on Facebook today, and I shared it to my timeline. It's from Avant Gardens, and it says millions of frozen methane bubbles in Abraham Lake, Alberta, Canada. So we're going to watch that again. Uh-oh. I didn't mean to do sound. There's no words. So that's what we're dealing with, and that's what's coming up out of the seafloor. Where we're seeing the red, where we're seeing the red and the browns and everything. And once it comes up and then it melts, it turns into the gas that releases into the air, into the atmosphere. And so that's what methane looks like, just in case anybody wanted to know. That's when it's in the frozen state. So, and they have these frozen deposits all over the place. It's it's basically at the frozen in all the sediments, pretty much all around the planet. Some more places than others. So now let's go over to our comments. Jaybird said under my video from day before yesterday, nobody else I know of is monitoring the pulse of the planet on a daily basis. Nothing could be more critical at this point than regularly presented, scientifically gathered data. Thanks for being with us through the end times. You're welcome, Jaybird. I appreciate you being here, and thank you for being here, and I appreciate you commenting and being with us too. Marie Scott comments under my show from yesterday. Thanks, Margo. This is quite something at Long Valley. Really appreciate your coverage of all these things. Thanks, Marie. And thanks for your comment. And yeah, I showed that cluster of earthquakes at Long Valley, and we've got more today that we'll be looking at. But yeah, and I think it's important for us to be watching the earthquakes and the methane, because those are the two big ones that we can see a lot of stuff happening. And with the earthquakes, we can see like instantly. So these next two comments I want to cover together because they're along the same lines. And so I've actually covered this in some of my campfire chats, and I did put a link. Anyway, so I'm going to start with Patricia's comment simply because it's shorter. Patricia Powell says, "Hi Margo, watch every day to get your uptake on things. Always so informative. Do you think we can get out of this somehow? No one I'm involved with believes any of this, and they don't want to talk or hear about it. What are your thoughts on things? It helps to be able to share thoughts and ideas with someone of like mind. Thanks for your work." Well, Patricia, first of all, thank you for watching every day, and thank you for being here, and thank you for your comment. And just to respond, no, I don't think there's a way out, and that's what I've been saying. And it doesn't matter what anyone around you believes, you are the one that's waking up. And as you wake up, your beliefs, that old belief reality cap will come off, and you'll be open to new ideas, and these other people are not open. So I'm going to talk about some of this a little bit more in a minute. Then Nat Morley says, "Hi Margo from a very snowy UK." Hi Nat. And I think this is her first post. So she says, "I've been watching your videos and giving you thumbs up for ages. Thank you. Thanks so much for your very thorough and up-to-date reporting. I studied geography at Oxford way back in the late 80s, and global warming was the big topic. It was obvious way back then that it was serious. What happened? I'm now an artist / printmaker," and then she leaves a link to her website. "And most of my work depicts wildlife, as I've been passionately interested in nature since I was a little kid. I'm so devastated that the billions of amazing species that we share this planet with have been and continue to be decimated by our actions. The most terrible part for me personally is I'm a mom. I have a wonderful 17-year-old twin girls. One wants to be a doctor and the other is a talented musician. Such potential, I can't bear the thought that their lives might not be fulfilled. I'm so frustrated that so few people are aware of what's happening. I still hold on to the naive hope that in the final minutes society will spring into action with carbon recapture, etc. I have to for my girls, but while the powers that be are still in denial and care more about their bank accounts than their children, the forecast sadly is looking bad. Keep reporting, Margo. You're doing a great job. Good thing you have such a lovely, soothing voice." Well, a lot was said there in those two comments, and thank you, Nat, for following and watching and for being here, and thank you for your honesty. And so I posted this same response to both Nat and Patricia, that if they've not seen my campfire chat from August the 9th, 2018, we discussed the 5 stages of awareness and some coping strategies, and here's a link to that show. And I did a few campfire chat shows, and they were live streams, and it's just very difficult for me to do live streams anymore, and because I just don't have the energy. And but the whole idea behind the campfire chats was going to be a place where we could come together and talk about these things. And so if you'll look through my archives and just type in campfire chats, I can't remember how many I did, but each one of them has us sharing about our feelings and what's going on. But I do want to share these 5 climbing the ladder of awareness, and this was written by a gentleman named Paul Chifurka, and I'll leave a link below. I'm thinking about posting this on my website. I haven't done that yet, but I'm thinking about posting these climbing the ladder of awareness and kind of rewriting it from my perspective, since I do come from a different spiritual perspective than Paul does, and from a lot of other people who try to interpret these 5 stages. And these are related to the 5 stages of grief from Kubler-Ross, who wrote the book on the 5 stages of grief. And if people are not aware of this, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross was her name. I recommend that everyone read that book. And if you want to learn about letting go and about going through the stages of grief when you're going through huge changes, which is, it's all a dying process, because you're dying to the old way and having to readjust your whole thinking and belief system to a new way. Read the book. I also recommend people get involved with hospice. Become a hospice volunteer, and you will learn, you will get a crash course in letting go. And I was a hospice volunteer for 2 years. I went and would sit with people who were dying and would talk to them or not talk to them, pray with them, not pray with them, watch TV with them, whatever they wanted, tend to their needs, and a lot of times, as they go into the very final stages, a lot of people will go into a coma where the body is just going through the final stages of letting go. And many times I would go into a meditative state and just sit with them. And I am empathic, and I do communicate with other realms and with angels and divine beings, and many times I would see that person's angel, and I would be communicating with the angel and talking to the person. I would see the person like in spirit form sitting there and being very afraid of letting go, and I would just say, it's okay, you're not alone, it's okay to let go. And the angel would just be standing there holding their hand out to him. And a lot of times after I would get done and say my prayers and I would leave the room, the person would leave. They would be dead within just a few minutes, or at least by the next time I came back on my shift to work with them, or to work on the hospice unit. And it was a whole unit at a hospital in eastern Pennsylvania that I volunteered at for 2 years. And I learned so much. And death is nothing to be afraid of. And the problem is we have been taught as a culture to fear death and to not talk about it and to keep our feelings stuffed down. But it's a part of life. And we start dying the moment that we're born, believe it or not. And we're all dying. We're all in the dying process. And it's just that we're all going to die sooner than we thought we were going to. So, and we all have hopes and dreams that don't get realized throughout our lives. And so, when we can learn to let go and learn to give up control of what we feel like we want for our lives and need for our lives, and ask for God to guide us, it's a lot easier. And I do believe in a creator. I do believe in a higher power. And this is what sets me apart from other people in the climate scientist community. And I've gotten a lot of flack over this. I mean, I'll be honest, but this is what makes me different. And this is why a lot of people do come to my channel and do want to work with me in coaching, because, they'll say, I'm open. I'm open to getting my spiritual house in order. How do I do that? And I help them do it. All you have to do is be open. And I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about getting in touch with your spiritual side and getting in touch with God and Jesus and the divine, and getting that tractor beam on you now before it's too late. So, I know I went off there, but anyway, these 5 steps, there are 5, this guy divided up. He says, when it comes to our understanding of the unfolding global crisis, Each of us seems to fit somewhere along a continuum of awareness that can be roughly divided into 5 stages. The first one is dead asleep, and that's 99% of the world. They're dead asleep to whatever the problem is, and they're just concerned with their surviving their own daily lives. They're totally self-centered in whatever their world is, and they don't care about anything else. Second step is awareness of one fundamental problem, such as climate change, or another problem might be economic collapse. Another problem might be the nuclear industry problem. And another problem could be geoengineering. Another one could be 5G. I mean, the whole, and it could go on and on and on. Step 3 is awareness of many problems. Step 4 is awareness of the interconnections between the many problems. And step 5 is awareness that the predicament encompasses all aspects of life. And then, once you get to step 5, and I think there should be a step 6, because for those of us who go beyond all of that and not only realize it but do the research and start reporting on it, we go into our own certain level of grief and despair and feeling. I mean, as we do the research, it's like, oh my God, here's another thing that we've been lied to about. And the worst part is that we've been lied to all of our lives. That's the worst part. So then we have to figure out what we're going to do. And so he suggests an outer path versus an inner path. When people arrive at the outer path, if you don't start to take action, you're at real risk for depression. And so people want to take action. Some people become activists and saving the environment as much as they can, going into politics, doing different things. And then I don't see any use in that personally for me, because I like I've said over and over and over again, there's no physical fix to a spiritual problem. Because beyond all the physical stuff, the underlying problem is spiritual. Is that we're an immature species, and the ones in power are I believe are run by the evil mind of Satan. And as long as those people, I don't even want to call them people, beings, I don't even think they are people, are in power, and they've been in power from the very beginning, nothing's going to change. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how many marches you go on, how many blogs you write, how many times you get arrested. It doesn't matter. It's not going to change a thing. And so I believe that that's all a distraction, that we need to go within into the inner path, and he talks about that, and go and find our inner strength and get in touch with that divine part of ourselves. And we all have it. It's just been covered up, or we've turned our back on it, or we've stopped listening to the still small voice. And it's never too late to try. It's never too late to call out for help. Although if someone is an atheist, then I don't know what to do. I don't know how to advise them. A lot of people who are atheists can go maybe with a little bit of a Zen point of view and just be, but You know, that's not my ball game. I'm not an atheist. I do believe in a creator, and I do believe that it's very important that we get on a spiritual path, a spiritual journey to go within while we can, while we still have a chance. And as this happens, we can gain peace, we can gain more wisdom, we can gain understanding, and eventually gain acceptance, and be ready to leave and make the changes that we need to make at this point for whatever it is we're called to do. And so I know that was kind of a long explanation, but I really wanted to address those two comments. And you know, when you're talking about, is there anything that we can do? No, I don't think there is. I mean, everything that people have done so far have just screwed things up more, you know. So, and it does break my heart. It breaks my heart to see all the animals dying and the trees dying, and it does break my heart. But if you can get into that spiritual space and look at it from a higher perspective, you're not feeling the pain as much, and it's a little bit easier. And so I do thank everyone for being here and for leaving your comments and sharing your thoughts and sharing your fears and things, because this is a really hard time. But I do think we are privileged. We're a privileged generation to be here at this point in time, to be witnessing and going through this, and going through it with all the other sentient beings here. And if people want to see the full Climbing the Ladder of Awareness, I'll leave the link below. There are not many places I found this on the internet, but this was posted on Carolyn Baker's website, carolynbaker.net, and from October the 20th, 2012, Climbing the Ladder of Awareness by Paul Chafurka. So the whole thing is here. I just broke it down. And I offer life coaching to help people come to terms with things. And you can go to my website if you want to do some life coaching, margoshealingcorner.com. She also offers life coaching and seminars and things like that. And her website is carolynbaker.net. Another person, and he works with Carolyn Baker, is Dean Walker. His website is livingresilience.net, and he offers coaching. And I was actually interviewed by him on Poetry a Predicament, and you can find that on YouTube as well. So, and there are other groups as well. Those are just a couple that I know of right off the bat. If people want to find places, and there are some groups on Facebook, and I don't belong to any of those groups because I'm kind of, I do my own thing. And by me doing these daily forecasts, that's me coping with this. If I weren't doing something every single day, I'd be going crazy, I have to tell you. So me doing the methane earthquake reporting and the climate change reporting and all of that, this is my therapy. And so that's how I'm dealing with it, because I was already on an inner path a long time ago. I've been doing meditation since my teens. And I've always felt like I wanted to know God. I wanted to know the mind of God. I wanted to be able to interact and just know. And I wanted to be a clear channel. I've always wanted that. And I went down lots and lots of different rabbit holes to finally get to where I'm at. And it didn't all come together until I finally opened up and said, God, if you're real, let me know. And then it started flowing. And same thing with Jesus. Jesus, if you're real, let me know. And that's all I did. And it just started flowing. So, and then it all came about. And then the empathic abilities became, always been empathic, but they didn't become developed. These abilities did not really become developed until the last couple of years. And now it's totally right on. Totally right on. So, I'm going to put up a print page as my backdrop. And we're all at different levels and stages of this path. And, you know, some people had been at the 5 level and the 6 level for a long time. I've been there for a long time. And for about the last 10 years, I've had this underlying feeling of just really deep sadness, and just feeling like something was off, that something was wrong, and I really didn't know what it was. And then when I heard about Guy McPherson and first heard him in his videos, I knew that he was right. I just totally resonated with him talking about the climate and how everything was going to end, and it was too late. And I knew it. I mean, he confirmed what I had been experiencing, and the messages that I had gotten in from the soul of the earth and the trees and, you know, different ones, that everything was going to go away, and there was really nothing anybody could do about it. So I had already been on this inner path for a long, long time. And so so by me coming out and doing this YouTube channel and doing this research and putting myself out there, this is my outer path. And it's not easy for me. I have to be very honest. I'm a very shy person. I mean, I've performed a lot with my music. That's on stage, and you're kind of like by yourself as a pianist on stage. But I'm a very shy person, and I shy away from groups and large groups, and I'm a loner, and I have been most of my life, and I've always walked to a different drummer, and I've always been different. And you know, I've had a lot of paranormal experiences, UFO experiences, and so for me, you know, I believe in the unseen world because I've had my own experiences and my own proof. And so for people who are more left brain and have not had those experiences, it's hard for them. It's hard for them to let go and to think that there's something beyond this 3D reality. And so they want to hang on to this. But, you know, I'm not hanging on. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. The sooner the better. And like I said, you know, getting out here and exposing myself to the world like this is painful. And it's what God wants me to do. And I'm on an assignment from God until God tells me to do something else. So, and I do it out of love for everyone and to try and help everybody deal with what's right in front of us and coming down. So I hope that explains some things for everybody. And so anyway, let's get right into our earthquake report. We have all magnitudes for the last 24 hours on the USGS pulled up, and it's showing 246. Now, we are coming into a long weekend with Monday being President's Day. A lot of people who work for government agencies take off on Fridays. So, I don't know if that's going to affect. I'm sure by tomorrow we'll see less earthquakes because the earthquake makers won't be at work. And now, one day, magnitude 2.5 and higher worldwide, we're seeing 38. And I'm gonna start, and we've had some large ones. We have had some large earthquakes, and you see we got a large one that just came in down here near Vanuatu. So, or is that Fiji? Yeah, it's down there in the South Pacific. Anyway, I want to start though with this, the largest one that came in this morning. It was at 8:14 this morning. It was a 6.6 magnitude. At first it was a 6.5, but they upgraded it to a 6.6, and it was on land. And it was 14 kilometers east-northeast of Puerto Madero, Mexico. Now here's an airport just up here to the northwest of that. Here's Ciudad Hidalgo down to the southeast. It was 67 kilometers deep. I don't know if it doesn't look like it was in a populated area, but that will cause some damage. And I don't know if it was close enough to the airport to have caused damage at the airport. It looks like, well, here's our measuring, like that's 1 mile there. So that might be 6 miles from the airport. So it might have been far enough away that it didn't cause any damage. I just don't know. But that's our biggest one that's happened in the last 24 hours. So, let's go to EMSC and see if they're, oh yeah, see there are aftershocks down there. 4.3. Let's look down here. Here it is. They called it at Chiapas, Mexico. Then there was a 4.5 offshore Chiapas, and then a 4.2 at Chiapas, 4.3 offshore Chiapas. Here's another 4.3 offshore Chiapas. So they're still having some pretty large aftershocks down there. So see, that's right on that red line. So let's come over to the other side of the planet, and I don't want to miss doing this one. Right up here in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean was a 4.9, at the northern mid-Atlantic ridge. It happened at 7:20 this morning, right on that red line. Then over here in Greece, there had been two. There was a 4.4 near Zakynthos, Greece, last night at 9:01 p.m. Let's look at that. That was, okay, it was in the water, in the Mediterranean Sea, just off the coast of Zakynthos. So that probably didn't cause any damage. Then there was one down here, 4.9 near Carpathos, Greece, at 2:29 this morning. Again in the water, so it probably didn't cause any damage. Then coming across, there was this one. This is actually in China. They call it near Tugal, Kazakhstan, but it was in the northwest corner of China. 5.3 that happened at 1:54 this afternoon. 8.2 kilometers deep. So it doesn't look like that was near populated areas, so hopefully that didn't cause any damage. Then here's another one down here in China, a 4.3 near Daxing, China, at 1:26 this afternoon. And now coming down into the South Pacific, let's look at Australia next. This one happened, and this is rare. We rarely see these in Australia or off the coast. This was off the west coast of Carnarvon, Australia. It was a 4.5 that happened at 12:28 this morning. Alright, now let's come up here to Indonesia. Here's one off the coast of Sumatra, 4.9 that happened at 11:16 this morning. Here's one off the northwest, off the west coast of Jakarta. 4.8. It was at 3:07 this afternoon. 35 kilometers deep. Then here was one right on this fork, red line fork, 4.4 near Somlaki, 129 kilometers deep. Happened right at midnight last night. Then here's one over here north of Vanuatu, west-northwest of Sola. It was a 4.8 that happened at 10:04 last night. Then here's a recent one that just came in near Tonga or Fiji, south of the Fiji Islands, a 5.3. 90 kilometers deep, came in at 3:48 this afternoon. Now let's come on up here to the northern Mariana Islands. There were two. This is the second one. The first one was a 5.2 near Farallon de Pajaros, northern Mariana Islands. It came in at 1:41 this morning, 34 kilometers deep. Then another one at the same place, a 5.0, that came in at 6:51 this morning, 10 kilometers deep. Okay, here we have a new one right up here off the coast of Kamchatka, and we saw one right here yesterday This one's brand new, 4.6, that came in at 4:04 this afternoon. And I think that's all of the international ones. Let's go to Alaska while we're up here. So we're looking at 2.5 magnitude and higher. Okay, nothing in northern Alaska. So we've got 8 on the map, 2.5 magnitude and higher. I'll call them off. 2.7 near Chiricahua Island. 2.5 near Chignig Lake. 4.2 near Chignig Lake. 3.0 near Kodiak. 2.0 Big Lake, 2.8, 3.4 near Kodiak, 2.7 Healy, and 2.5 Big Lake. So let's look at this biggest one. There were 2 right down here on this island. There was a 4.2 and a 2.5. We've seen them here before. So now let's look at all magnitudes for Alaska. And we've got 74 on the map. So Alaska averages between 50 and 100 earthquakes a day. So we're seeing a little cluster right down here off of Cook Inlet, and then there's still clustering here at Anchorage. This is showing 39 on the map. These are small, 2.5 it looks like, and lower, and then clustered throughout the middle part of the state. Then a couple over here. Here's a 1.6 at Yakutat and a 1.8 at Yakutaga. Now, while we're here in the Pacific, let's look at Hawaii. Two, and right on top of each other there was a 2.1 and a 1.0, literally right on top of each other, and it's west of Mauna Loa, west of the Mauna Loa Observatory, or Mauna Loa, however you say it. So that's calmed down. Now let's go over to the Caribbean, and remember that cluster we saw up here? That's calmed down. We've got 14 on the map today of all magnitudes. And so here's a 2.9. That's one of the higher ones off this northeast shore of Dominican Republic, Santo Domingo. Here's a 2.7 in the ocean, 2.7 Punta Cana, 2.6 over here, British Virgin Islands, 2.7, 2.4, 2.5, 3.5 looks like the largest one right here. And this is where we were seeing that cluster. But that's calmed down. So maybe that released some pressure. So now we've got the United States. Starting out with this one up in Kansas, just on the other side of the Oklahoma border. 2.5 near Kiowa, Kansas. Happened at 4:20 this morning. 5 kilometers deep. Then we had an unusual one happened in Colorado at Glenwood Springs. This is, now here's Denver, and here's Grand Junction, almost on the other side of the state. So Glenwood Springs is a little bit over halfway west between Denver and Grand Junction. It's beautiful. I've been there. I lived in the Denver area for 5 years, and I loved it. I loved the mountains, and it was just beautiful. So this happened right next to the highway, Highway 6, that runs east to west there. It was a 3.1 that happened at 12:58 this morning at 1.9 kilometers deep. So that's a highly unusual place for an earthquake. So for whatever reason. Then coming across, Arizona's clear, Utah, we've got this one down here, 1.4 near Fairview. This was a minus 3.4 kilometers depth. You know what that means. We've talked about this, where we have a negative depth. That means that the epicenter of the earthquake is up in the mountain, and that was high up in the mountain. So that's magma flowing up, probably in an old dormant volcano, causing that earthquake. It wasn't a big one, but it's showing movement. So there it was. This happened at 1:33 this morning. So magma's on the move. Now let's go up to Yellowstone. Let's see what we've got up here. We've got 14 on the map. Looks like this is the biggest one. Near Seeley Lake, Montana, was a 2.1 at 10 o'clock this morning. These are all Pacific times. Then here's an explosion, quarry blast, 1.7 at near Butte, Montana. 12:02 this afternoon at minus 2 kilometers depth, so that was up in the mountain or on the mountainside. Here's a 1.0 near Dillon, Montana. 1.2 near Challis, Idaho. Here's a little cluster. Look at this. Here's a this is all near Manhattan. A 1.7, 0.7, and a 0.9. All that little cluster there. Then coming down, here's this little bitty one in the river there, a minus 0.3 near West Yellowstone, Montana. So that was a microquake there. Here's a 1.5 near West Yellowstone. And then let's look at these all. Look, it's all around this bay, this inlet here. 2.1 near West Yellowstone. Here's a 0 magnitude. 0.6, 0.3, and 0.4. So these were smaller. So this was the largest one at 2.1 right there. So showing movement, but we didn't see any at negative kilometers depth except for that blast. So we saw that one in Idaho. Now coming on over to the northwest, we've got this one near Victoria. A 2.5 near Friday Harbor, Washington. Here's a 1.8 near Granite Falls, Washington. Here's a little itty bitty one near Tacoma, a 0.9, says near Bonnie Lake, Washington. Here's an explosion right there, 1.3 explosion near Kittitas, Washington, 11:09 this morning at minus 0.9 kilometers depth. Here's one, a 0.3 near Packwood, Washington. Look at this one. Here's a larger one, 2.2 near Topinish, Washington. Happened at 2:09 this afternoon. Here's a 0.7 near Mount Hood Village, Oregon. So I think that's all up there. Now let's come on down. Let's do Nevada next. Nevada in this northeast part of California. Look at Pyramid Lake. We've got one north of Pyramid Lake at Gerlach Empire. Here's a 1.2. We haven't seen one up here in a while. This came in at 3:52 this morning at 0 kilometers depth. On Fox Range. I know exactly where that is. Then here's one right on the, literally, well, on the other side of the road that goes around Pyramid Lake on the west side, a 1.1 that happened at 8:02 last night, 11 kilometers deep. We haven't seen any up there in a while. Here's one near Portola, a 1.7. Here's one near, another one near Portola, a 0.4. Nothing in Reno or Lake Tahoe. Here's some small ones in the Carson City area. I'll call them off. A 0.2 right up here. Now that's kind of in between Carson City and Dayton. Now there are mountains there, and this Highway 50 goes from Carson City through Dayton all the way out to Silver Springs. But there is a mountain range that goes along there, so it looks like these were in the foothills. A 0.2 there, and a 0.3 right next to it, and those were only a minute apart. This one happened at 8:45 last night, and then the next one happened at 8:46 last night. And then a 0.7 down here, and then a 1.9 southeast of Dayton. It's a little bit bigger there. So there's that. Now coming on down in the Hawthorne area, we're seeing small ones. We've got 10 showing up in Hawthorne and over by Warm Springs. Here's a 2.6 near Current. Here's a 1.6 explosion near Ely at 1:22 this afternoon. So you know what that means. They're doing stuff. Here's one right by Las Vegas, a 1.0, 2 kilometers west of North Las Vegas. This happened at 8:12 last night. Look at that. right next to the highway. It was small. It probably didn't do any damage. I'll bet nobody even felt it, but they had it. Here's another explosion. 1.5 that happened 21 kilometers northeast of Nellis Air Force Base. And that's where a lot of top secret stuff goes on. And that happened at 12:57 this afternoon, 0 kilometers depth. So there's that. Now let's start up here in Northern California. Okay, we covered that. Here's a new one that just came in, a 2.9 west of Petrolia, and this is on that San Andreas fault line that hooks up with the Juan de Fuca plate in the Cascadia subduction zone. This came in at 4:30 this afternoon, 7 kilometers deep, right on that line. Look at the geysers. We got 16 here today. This one looks like the biggest one, 2.5. Yeah, that was the biggest one. Now let's come on down. Here's one to the west of San Francisco, right here in the ocean, to the west, just directly to the west of San Francisco, the beach there. It says 4 kilometers west northwest of San Francisco Zoo, California. It was a 2.1 magnitude right next to that red line, San Andreas Fault. 12 kilometers deep. It came in at 2:22 this afternoon. Here's two over here. Near the Hayward Fault, 1.4 near Black Hawk, and 1.5. And these were within about an hour of each other this morning. Here's one at Hayward. Speaking of Hayward and the Hayward Fault, 1.6 magnitude that happened at 2:16 this morning, 4 kilometers deep. Here's another one on the Hayward Fault, or near it, a 1.4 near Sunol that came in last night at 10:17, 7 kilometers deep. This one, oh, that one just popped off. I guess I showed that yesterday. Here's two together. Here's a 1.6 and a 2.0 near the pinnacles next to the red line. Here's one right on the red line, 1.1 near Parkfield. Now these are places that we see earthquakes all the time. Wow, look at these in the ocean. Here's one to the west of Long Beach. Here's a 1.7 that happened at 5:48 last night, 5:48 p.m., 13 kilometers deep. And 1.7 off the coast of San Pedro. at 12:54 this morning, minus 0.2 kilometers deep. How can that be in the ocean? How can that be? I don't understand. I wish someone could explain that to me. Mexico is clear. Here's 1.5 near Brawley. Here's a 1.3 in the Salton Sea. Here's an explosion. I see that. 1.4 quarry blast near Victorville came in at 10:20 this morning, minus 1 kilometers depth. So in the viewing area we have 37 on the map here. So not nearly as many today as we see sometimes. I'm just going to pick out some of the bigger ones. 1.1 near Kali Mesa. 1.0 near Mentone. Now let's look at Kauai in this area. There's 25. So the majority of them are right down here. And they're small, ones and unders, except for this 2.5. Now, let's come up through the middle and the eastern part of California. Here, Fremont Valley, we've got 5. All at Johannesburg, and we saw them there yesterday too. So we've got another cluster here. Remember they were clustering here? I'm going to call them off at 0.9, 0.5, 1.1, 1.0, and 0.9. So that's in Fremont Valley, near Red Rock Canyon. Then, coming up here, this is at the Coso Junction area, and we've got 5 on the map here. I'll call them off. 0.3, 1.0, 1.1, 0.6, and 0 magnitude. All in this Rose Valley area in Coso Junction, and one little one over there. Now, coming on up to Long Valley, we've got 13 here today. I'm going to zoom in so we can see these a little better. Here's Lake Crowley. So I'm just going to call them off, and you'll see where they light up. 1.4 over here. Most of them are over here. 1.8, 0.9, 1.9, 0.6, 0.6, minus 0.1, so that was a microquake. 1.6, 0.4, 1.3, 0.2, 0.7, 0.3. So this is in that Long Valley Caldera area where things are happening. Nothing up here at Mono Lake. I think that's it. So let's back out and See, uh-oh, we had a new one at Greece, it looks like. Look, right down from this other one that we saw. 4.5 near Methane, Greece, or Methane, however you say that. It came in at 4:14 this afternoon. So they're increasing over here. Let's look at 2.5 magnitude and higher. Yeah, we saw this one at Petrolia. We saw this one at Greece. Let's see. Okay, we got this one. I gotta move it over the way I like it. There. We saw that one off the Kamchatka coast. We saw the 5.3 south of Fiji Islands. We saw that 4.8 at Indonesia. I think that's it. So I'll wrap it up for today. We went long again. I don't intend to go long. I just get started talking about stuff. But I think our discussion today about the stages of awareness and dealing with our emotions and our feelings and our thoughts and what's going on as we're moving through these precarious times is important. So I love you guys very much. I do believe that time is short and that we are in the end times. And while we have a chance, it's time to get our spiritual houses in order. So until next time, God bless each and every one of you. I love you very much. Go in peace and good night.